Okay, let's dive deep into something really, really important if you're involved with precious metals. We're talking about counterfeits, how to protect yourself, understand the tricks, and, well, know how to spot a fake from the real deal. We're using a great article as our guide today, one that lays out some practical steps. Our goal is simple. Pull out the essential, actionable info so you can buy safely, cut through the noise, get right to what you need.
Absolutely. And this isn't just a minor issue. Counterfeiting in precious metals, it's a serious threat. We're talking significant financial loss for anyone who gets caught out. You invest thinking you have real value, and poof, it turns out to be almost worthless. It's a devastating hit.
So let's unpack that a bit. Why is this such a big deal right now? What's the core impact?
Well, like you said, it's the financial loss, first and foremost. Imagine putting serious money into a gold bar, right? Only to find out later it's just, say, gold-plated tungsten. That investment is just gone. And the source material points out it's not just the money. Finding out you hold a fake, or worse, trying to sell one unknowingly, that can really damage your reputation too.
And these criminals, they're getting smarter, aren't they? The article stresses how sophisticated they've become.
Oh, definitely. These aren't always crude fakes anymore. Their methods are constantly improving, constantly evolving.
Which means we have to keep up. Staying informed is, well, it's more critical than ever. Okay, so what are these methods? What kind of tricks are the counterfeiters actually using these days?
Right, the source highlights a few key techniques. One of the most common, and maybe the trickiest, is plating. So they'll take a cheap base metal, could be copper, zinc, sometimes even tungsten, like I mentioned, and they'll coat it with a very thin layer of actual gold or silver. To the naked eye, it can look really convincing. It might even pass a quick scratch test if you're not careful.
Ah, okay. So just looking at it often isn't enough. That's the key insight here, right? Because that plating makes it look genuine.
Exactly. First-class deception. That's the goal. Another thing they do is mess with the weight or the core. They might, say, drill out the inside of a coin or a small bar, fill it with something cheaper and lighter, then plug it back up really carefully.
Sneaky.
Very. Or they might use a base metal that has a density similar to the real thing, but not quite exact. They're hoping you won't do a precise density check. And then there are the fake stamps and hallmarks, these little markings, that are supposed to guarantee the purity and the maker. Counterfeiters put a lot of effort into replicating these official marks to make the fake seem legitimate.
Wow, even faking the hallmarks, that feels like attacking the trust sister itself. Okay, so given how clever this is, how do we fight back? What does the article suggest for actually verifying authenticity?
All right, let's get practical. The source lays out several methods, kind of like layers of defense. It starts with a good physical examination. This means really looking closely. Get hands-on if you can. Check the color. Is it consistent all over? Are the edges finished properly? Look at the markings, the text, the images. Are they sharp, clear? Or do they look a bit off, maybe fuzzy, misspelled, or poorly struck? Genuine items usually have a certain quality, a feel, that fakes struggle to match perfectly.
Okay, so a really detailed visual check is step one. What comes after that?
Then you move into testing. The article mentions a few useful tests. A really simple one is the magnet test. Gold, silver, platinum. The main precious metals, they're not magnetic. So if you take a reasonably strong magnet and the item sticks to it,
Big red flag.
huge red flag. Probably not the real deal. Then there's density testing. Like how a lead weight is much heavier than an aluminum block of the same size. That's density. Every pure metal has a very specific density. The article explains you can measure the item's weight and its volume, often using water displacement, like Archimedes, to calculate its density. Then you compare that calculated density to the known density of, say, pure gold or pure silver. If the numbers don't match up,
Something's wrong. That sounds like a great way to catch those filled fakes, doesn't it?
it really is. It's quite definitive if done correctly. And finally, the article mentions acid testing. This involves putting a tiny drop of a specific testing acid on an inconspicuous spot on the item. Genuine precious metals are very resistant to corrosion, so they generally won't react. But the cheaper base metals often used in fakes, they'll usually show a reaction changing color, maybe bubbling or fizzing.
Okay, those tests sound powerful, especially once you have the item. But the article makes a strong point that maybe the best defense starts even earlier before you buy. It's about where and how you choose to purchase. Let's talk about those strong buying practices.
Absolutely. Prevention is key. And the source really emphasizes vet your seller thoroughly.
So what does that involve? What should you be looking for in a dealer?
Well, first, do your homework. A background check, Are they established? Do they have credentials? Are they members of reputable industry groups like the ICTA or PNG in the U.S.? Look for complaints online, check with the Better Business Bureau or similar consumer protection agencies. Any history of legal trouble or unresolved issues about authenticity, that's a warning sign.
And the article seems pretty clear. Stick with established dealers. Don't go for unknowns just because the price looks good.
Yes, that's a major takeaway. Established dealers have a reputation to uphold. They usually have a physical shop or a long-standing, verifiable online presence. They often provide clear information about their products and sourcing. They're just less likely to risk selling fakes. Going for that unbelievable deal from a random seller on an auction site, that's where the risk shoots way up. And really read those seller reviews and ratings. Don't just glance at the star count. Look for consistency. Are the positive reviews detailed? Are there recurring themes and negative reviews, especially about authenticity or customer service? Lots of unresolved complaints. Be very, very wary.
Okay, so you've done your due diligence, picked a reputable dealer, made the purchase, the package arrives. What next? The article stresses inspecting the product and packaging immediately.
Right. Don't just put it away. This is your chance to apply those physical checks again right away.
Yeah.
Get out your scale. Does the weight match exactly what was advertised and what it should be? Examine the color again under good light. Check those markings, the details, maybe with a magnifier. Do they look crisp and correct?
And it's not just the metal piece itself, is it? The paperwork matters too.
Oh, absolutely critical. Look for authentic documentation. Reputable dealers usually provide certificates of authenticity, detailed invoices, sometimes assay cards sealed with the item. The key thing here, the absolute crucial step, is to make sure the details on the paperwork, weight, purity, any serial numbers match the item you're holding precisely. Any discrepancy is a huge red flag. And, taking that a step further, the article mentions verifying certifications.
Right, those hallmarks and mint marks we talked about earlier, these are supposed to be official guarantees.
Exactly. So you need to check that the hallmarks look correct, sharp, clear, properly placed. And for some items, especially larger bars, you might be able to verify serial numbers or other identifiers against official refiner or mint records, sometimes using online databases.
Some companies offer online authentication services too, right?
Yes, that's another tool the article points out. Some third-party services or even the mint refiners themselves might have online databases where you can input a serial number to check its validity and history. It's an extra layer, particularly useful for more significant purchases.
Okay, so you've done all this, checked everything, tested maybe, but something still feels off. Your gut feeling, or maybe a test result, is borderline. What does the article say to do if you suspect you've got a counterfeit?
Right. This is important. The source is very clear. If you have a strong suspicion, you need to act. It's not just about getting your money back. It's about stopping these fraudsters. The first steps are pretty straightforward. 1. Stop all further dealings with that seller immediately. No more buying, no trying to return it for store credit, nothing. 2. Gather all your evidence. Receipts, invoices, email correspondence, photos you took of the item and packaging, maybe notes on your test results, everything. 3. Contact the seller. Preferably in writing, state your concerns clearly and request an explanation or a full refund. See how they respond. 4. Report it. This is key. Contact your local law enforcement, file a police report. Also, report it to consumer protection agencies like the FTC in the U.S. or equivalent bodies elsewhere.
And the article mentioned trade organizations as well.
Yes. Step 5. Inform relevant industry trade organizations. Groups like the Anti-Counterfeiting Educational Foundation or specific coin dealer associations, they track this stuff. Alerting them helps protect the whole community as they can issue warnings to their members about specific fakes or suspect dealers.
Okay, and when you're reporting this to the authorities, having good evidence is crucial, right?
Absolutely vital. The article emphasizes this. Keep all those purchase documents organized. Take clear, well-lit photographs of the item, focusing on any suspect areas, the markings, the color, any damage from testing. Keep records of all communication with the seller. Dates, times, what was said. This documentation is what law enforcement and consumer agencies need to build a case.
So engaging with law enforcement means filing that formal report, giving them copies of your evidence, and contacting the trade groups helps spread the word. It sounds like a coordinated effort.
It really needs to be. These counterfeit operations can be sophisticated and cross borders. The more information authorities in the industry have, the better they can fight back.
This all sounds like, well, it sounds like it takes ongoing effort. It's not just a one-off check when you buy something. The article really hammers home the need for continued vigilance.
That's exactly right. It's not static. The counterfeiters are always trying new things, adapting to detection methods. So your awareness has to adapt too. How do you stay informed? Well, the article suggests following reputable market news sources. Industry publications, financial news sites, they often report on new counterfeit discoveries or warnings. Pay attention to those alerts.
What about connecting with other buyers?
Yeah, that's another great point from the source. Joining online precious metal forums or communities can be really valuable. People share their experiences, good and bad. They post photos of fakes they've encountered, discuss dealers, share testing tips. You can learn a lot from the collective knowledge and vigilance of the community. And ultimately, it boils down to continuous learning. Maybe attend a workshop if one's available. Read articles. Stay curious. Regularly review your own buying habits and your verification checklist. Don't get complacent.
Okay, let's tackle a few common questions people might have, drawing from the FAQs the article touches on. What are those big, immediate red flags someone should just always be on the lookout for?
Right. The article lists some clear giveaways. Number one, prices that are way below the current market spot price. If it looks too good to be true, it almost certainly is. That's probably the biggest red flag. Also, sellers with lots of negative reviews, especially unresolved complaints about authenticity. Or sellers who seem dodgy, unwilling to provide clear info, no proper documentation. Maybe they pressure you to buy quickly. Huge warnings.
What about buying online specifically? It feels riskier because you can't hold it first. How do you verify then?
It does add a layer of challenge. The source advises, request detailed photos and any available documentation before you commit to buying. Use those online authentication services if applicable. But the absolute key, the article stresses, is you must perform your own checks. Visual, weight, magnetic, maybe density, if possible, the moment you receive the item. Don't wait, and again, stick to well-known, reputable online dealers with solid track records. And just to hammer it home one last time, if you do strongly suspect you've received a counterfeit,
What's the immediate plan?
stop dealing with the seller. Gather all evidence, photos, receipts, emails. Report it to law enforcement. Report it to consumer protection agencies. Report it to industry trade groups. Document everything.
Yeah.
Act swiftly.
Okay. So, wrapping up this deep dive, it seems the core message is layered. You need to recognize the tricks, use specific verification methods, physical checks, testing, checking documents, and be really smart about where you buy by vetting sellers. Then, inspect carefully upon arrival, confirm any certifications, and crucially, know the steps for reporting if you suspect a fake.
Exactly. And remember that point about vigilance being ongoing. It's not a task you complete once. Because if the counterfeiters don't stop adapting, your methods for protecting yourself can't afford to stand still either. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Knowing that these fraudulent methods are constantly shifting, how can you develop a personal system, a routine, for staying vigilant that adapts just as quickly? And thinking about those forums and reporting channels, how does sharing information, what you learn, and maybe unfortunately what you encounter, become a really active part of protecting yourself and strengthening the whole community against this threat?